Welcome to this explainer. All right, let's just dive right in because we are looking at a massive, and I mean absolutely massive, paradigm shift happening right now in how machines process information. If you've been following the AI space, and I know you have, you've spent the last few years watching models get bigger and faster at gobbling up just incomprehensible amounts of raw data. But let's be real, interacting with them can still be incredibly frustrating, right? We cram all this flat, contextless data into these systems, and what do we get? Hallucinations, confident errors, forced certainty where the machine just straight up invents an answer rather than admitting, hey, I actually don't know. Well, the source material we're looking at today points to a fundamental change that directly fixes this. We're moving way beyond just feeding machines more data. We're actually changing the very nature of the data itself. Which brings us to this foundational question from our source material. What happens when a model trains on data that remembers? I want you to take a second and really think about that framing. Usually, data is just flat. It's static. A machine ingests a giant text file without any clue about its history, who wrote it, or if it's even valid. But what if we change that? What if the data actually holds onto its history, its context, its origin? Imagine reading an article where every single fact carries an invisible little footnote telling you exactly who discovered it, when it was verified, and how reliable that original source is. That is what we mean by data that remembers. And answering what happens when machines use this kind of data, well, it changes absolutely everything we know about artificial intelligence. The short, incredibly powerful answer is this: it learns judgment. Judgment. It's a heavy word, right? We usually reserve that strictly for human cognition. We naturally think of machines as cold calculators that just compute, while we are the ones who judge, evaluate, and critically think. But according to the source, when a machine trains on this highly specialized, context-rich data, it stops just mechanically spitting out the most statistically likely next word. The machine actually learns judgment. It stops being a blind calculator and becomes a discerning evaluator that can actively weigh the quality of the information it holds. Let's move into section 1, the next machine evolution. Let's see exactly how this builds a completely new foundation for machine learning. There is a fundamental difference in focus here when we look at traditional AI versus the next generation. Traditional AI's primary focus is just recognizing patterns. It's like seeing shapes in the clouds. It knows the word cloudy usually sits next to the word rain. It's just a statistical correlation. But next-generation AI, driven by this new data approach, focuses on inheriting wisdom. Inheriting wisdom means the machine actually understands why atmospheric pressure causes rain, because verified scientific precedents were baked right into the data itself. We're literally moving from models that merely identify patterns to models that inherit wisdom. It's that monumental leap from, hey, I've seen this shape before, to, I deeply understand the context and reliability of this information. Moving on to section 2, judgment over forced certainty. The crucial point here is understanding how this new judgment manifests when a machine is dealing with live information. Let's walk through the cognitive progression of a machine under this new paradigm. First, the machine learns to recognize which signals deserve stronger weight and which require caution. It's not treating all data equally anymore. A verified scientific journal suddenly carries way more weight than some random internet comment. Second, it develops something current systems completely lack: self-awareness around uncertainty. Because the data has a built-in history of reliability, the machine actually knows what it doesn't know. And third, because of that self-awareness, it signals when its confidence is low instead of forcing certainty. Think about how massive that is. Instead of giving you a highly confident guess or making up a fake legal case, the machine has the judgment to pause and say, actually, I'm not entirely sure about this. And because of this self-awareness, the machine can now actively distinguish between a rock-solid, reliable precedent and a flimsy, weak analogy. We've all seen current AI fail spectacularly at this, right? Like confidently telling you to put non-toxic glue on your pizza to keep the cheese from sliding off, just because it read a sarcastic joke on a forum. It literally treated a joke like a fact. Now, by exercising real judgment, a next-gen model relies only on verified culinary science, a reliable precedent. It knows the fundamental difference between a direct factual line and a loose, superficial, and potentially dangerous similarity. Which brings us to section 3. Changing how we interact. This internal shift completely alters the dynamic of how you and I will engage with these tools. As a direct result, your everyday experience changes dramatically. We stop getting those frustrating blind outputs. Answers that just magically appear out of a black box with totally unearned confidence, forcing you to spend 20 minutes fact-checking to see if the machine is lying to you. That era is ending. Instead, you start receiving transparent, informed reasoning.
The machine isn't just handing you an answer, it's giving you a well-thought-out response backed by evaluated precedent and an honest assessment of its own confidence. It becomes a real collaboration, a reliable analytical partner, rather than some chaotic, unpredictable brainstorming tool.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, How Machines Inherit Wisdom. We really need to look at the underlying mechanism making this incredible leap possible. How exactly does data remember?
The source highlights a specific catalyst driving this entire paradigm shift, and that is a platform called Codata. Codata enables machine judgment by supplying models with data that comes fully equipped with built-in confidence and provenance. Let's unpack that, because it's the bridge to understanding the whole concept. Instead of just indiscriminately scraping the internet and dumping raw text into a blender, Codata actively attaches metadata to the information. The data literally carries its own history, exactly where it came from, the context, how reliable the original source is, and what specific level of trust should be placed in it. It's kind of like giving the AI a vast library where every single book has already been meticulously reviewed, graded, and fact-checked by experts before the machine even opens the cover. By feeding models this rich, structured, and self-aware data, Codata equips the machine with the exact tools it needs to weigh signals, spot weak analogies, and exercise that crucial judgment we've been talking about. And that brings us to the ultimate conclusion of our explainer today, and this really powerful final quote. That's how machines inherit wisdom, not just patterns. By moving away from flat data and moving toward data rich with provenance and confidence, we aren't just building a faster calculator, we are cultivating a genuine analytical partner. So, I want to leave you with this to ponder. If simply recognizing basic patterns brought us to the edge of an artificial intelligence revolution, what incredible world-changing breakthroughs will humanity achieve once our machines finally stop guessing and actually begin applying inherited wisdom?